Hey everybody. I don't know if y'all can hear me or not, but if you scroll down to the bottom left of your screen, you should see a little video camera that you can hit start video. I'm going to give everybody just another minute or two to hop on.
Hey.
Now I'm seeing people. All right, and then also if you'll scroll down to the bottom left and the little microphone, if you'll hit mute so we don't hear a bunch of background noise. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started just so I can respect y'all's time. For the record, this is Elevate Training Session 3, which is on prospecting and recruiting. So I'm going to jump right in. This is probably one of my most favorite subjects just because it's probably one of my most favorite parts of the business is the prospecting and recruiting phase. And to be honest with you, to hear someone say that if you're new, it probably scares the heck out of you because in the beginning, I had no plans of having a team. I had no plans of prospecting people or recruiting people or trying to get people on my team. So I totally get it if it's like kind of an anxiety provoking thing to think about. But hopefully some things I'll tell you tonight will help get through that anxiety part of it. So the very first thing I want to talk about before we talk about what is prospecting and what is recruiting is getting your mindset around this right. And I never understood this until I read Romy Neustat's book. It's the title's Get Over Your Damn Self. I talk about it all the time because I love her and love her book. But she put into words what I was feeling when things finally clicked for me and my business really started growing. She put into words what it was. And it is basically that your happiness is not tied to anybody's answer. Okay. So if you can get that in your head first, and if you can get that in your heart, because it's easy to tell yourself that, but then not get your feelings hurt when somebody says no. But if you can have in your head, my happiness is not tied to your answer. And I have even verbalized that to people before when I'm recruiting them and talking through the process. I've even gone as far to say, you know what? It makes no difference to me. I would be thrilled and honored to work with you, but it makes no difference to me if you say yes or no. My happiness is not tied to your answer. It's not going to affect our friendship. It's not going to affect, future working relationship, whatever. And so if you can get that in your heart, just knowing that you're going to hear no a lot in this business. And the people that are at the top of this company have heard no way more than we have. And so in order to grow and get anywhere, you're going to get a lot of no's. And if you just kind of have to get a thick skin about that. And a great example I've heard over and over before is if a waitress is in a restaurant and everybody's had dinner and she's walking around pouring coffee, she's probably going to ask 100 people in the restaurant if they want coffee. Probably half of them will and half of them won't. Okay. And so does she go back to the kitchen and cry her eyes out and have her heart crushed if the person said, no, I don't want coffee? No, it's just, they don't want coffee. Okay. And so it's very much like this business. Now, sometimes it's personal to us because we think what we have to offer is such a great gift that it's so sad to us when people don't see that, but it's not personal. It's just not right for that person at the right time. Okay. So proceeding forward with that thought process that my happiness is not tied to anyone's answer, then I want to talk a little bit more about prospecting and recruiting. All right. So the definition, prospecting, recruiting, those two words are used interchangeably a lot in this business. And they're actually two very different things. And y'all, Becky recently did on Team 320, recently did a video about this that was amazing. And so when we finish up tonight, I'll tag everyone in that video because I've actually gone back and listened to it twice. But the words are used interchangeably, but they mean very different things. Okay. So prospecting is basically the act of identifying someone that could use Rodan and Fields or that you would like on your team. So it's basically just identifying them. Okay. At this point, they have no idea that you're thinking this way, that you're scheming or planning or whatever. Okay. So, let me give you an actual definition of prospect. So finding a likely candidate, identifying a potential buyer or customer, okay? And so my first piece of advice for you with this is to sort of put Rodan and Fields glasses on. When I very first started this business, Liz would always say, lead with the business, lead with the business. And that drove me nuts because I was like, no, I'm just now learning the products and I'm just now wanting to get some customers and I don't want to grow my team. I don't want to lead with the business. But what I realized over time, what she meant was look at everyone through Rodan and Fields glasses. Look at everyone that you come in contact with the thought process of, can they use this opportunity? Could they be a great fit for my team? Or do they need this? Basically, do they need this and can they use this opportunity? And once I started looking at everyone that way, it was like everything changed. Because, of course, everyone I came in contact with, I found reasons and ways that they needed Rodan and Fields, whether it was product or as the business. And so you're going to put these Rodan and Fields goggles on no matter where you are. I mean, if you're at a restaurant, be thinking of your waitress. And I mean, it becomes just natural to the point where it's like, I don't think about anything else as far as if this could bless people. But so you're going to be looking at everyone through Rodan and Fields glasses. And then I'm going to give you all lots of acronyms tonight just because they're helpful. But the first one is TINY, T-I-N-Y. It's used a lot in our company. And that means their interest, not yours. And so the prospecting phase is all about them. Okay. So it is just you learning about them, asking lots of questions, figuring out where they are in life. The biggest part of this phase is identifying their pain point, okay? And their pain point is what is their most painful point in life right now? Is it that they just had a baby and they are going back to work and they're devastated about it? Is it that their husband just lost their job and now they need to go back to work as a second income earner? Whatever it is, but this is kind of your point of really learning your prospect, okay? And learning what is their pain point. And the other language that I like to use for this is kind of your courting process, okay? So you're just kind of dating the idea of them joining your team or Rodan and Fields. This may be also, Becky in her video refers to this a lot as the dripping, slowly dripping information. It's maybe where you send them some samples. Or it may be where you find a Rodan and Fields, the Redefine blog, and find a story that's very similar to them and shoot it to them and say, hey, this came across my email this week and made me think of you. But it's just a constant drip of information while you're still trying to learn about them and learn their pain point, okay? For an example, I have this girl that I think is stinking adorable. She's a mom at my daughter's school. She's a pastor's wife, and our daughters played basketball together this past year, and then our daughters were just in dance recently together. And I knew from day one that I wanted her. She's from Canada. She is precious. She has a huge social media following. Everybody thinks she's adorable. She's super gifted at making things look cute. Her house is decorated cute and everything. So, but I didn't know her. I wasn't going to jump right in with this. And so we've just been building this friendship over sitting at basketball practice and sitting at dance practice and stuff. And she has slowly revealed to me that she was in a massive car accident and has horrible health problems ever since then. And so they are broke. They have paid attorneys every last penny and they are in so much debt. But y'all, I wouldn't have known that had I jumped straight in when I saw her cute picture and met her for the first time. But over those weeks, she has shared that stuff. And so now I have her pain point and I've built respect and relationship with her. So I have a place to go to her and say, hey, you shared this with me and I can't help but share what I know with you because I really think it can help y'all get out of debt. And so I actually bought her a lash boost and she's using lash boost and falling in love with the product. But so that's just a small story to give you guys an idea of don't jump right in and just mow people down with your agenda. So their interest, not yours. You've got to find out what they're interested in. You've got to find out what their pain point is. This business is relational, which is why we're so different than any other multi-level marketing companies that are out there. All right, so now I want to give you the definition of recruiting, and let's move on to what that looks like. And that is the act of enlisting as a member or seeking to enroll or to hire. And this is where Becky would say, this is the ask. You've got to actually formally ask. Like, I would love for you to do this with me. I would love for you to consider joining my team. Will you join me in this journey? Whatever your language is going to be, but there needs to be kind of a formal ask, okay? Think about when, and you'll hear this again, but think about when coaches are recruiting high school players for college, okay? So when they actually go through the recruitment phase, it is we ask you to come to the University of Tennessee. Will you join our team? Will you sign these papers? But the prospecting phase was like months or years prior to that, okay? So where somebody was watching them and finding out what were their gifts and finding out what they weren't good at and whatever, before there was that formal ask, okay? And so the definition of recruiting, and this is the part that's my favorite, is basically explaining to them how Radian & Fields is going to fit into their life, okay? And this is another acronym, WIIFT. What's in it for them? So when you go to explain, when you go to share with them about the Radian & Fields and opportunity, what they're going to hear, they're not going to hear the first time around, they're not going to hear numbers. They're not going to hear that we're the #1 premium skincare or the #1 acne system or anything like that. What they're going to hear is what's in it for them. What is Radian & Fields going to do to alleviate their pain point, okay? And that's all you have to start with. I got myself so overwhelmed in the beginning of starting with like, oh, but I've got to tell them numbers and I've got to talk through the compensation plan and I've got to help them understand how much they're committing to each month. No, they just basically need to hear, like, I have this opportunity that I want to share with you that may change your life. And here's how. You could not have to go back to work when your baby turns 3 months old. You could get out of that debt from those attorney bills or whatever. And so what's in it for them is what you're sharing. Now, I want to remind you of that story I told you a couple weeks ago of the big shot realtor who was in Chicago, I think it was, and they were selling high-rise apartment condos, okay? And this is right when the recession hit. I know I've told y'all this, but nobody could sell these condos except for this one guy. He was selling them left and right. And so they went to him and they were just like, tell us what you're doing. How are you selling these condos? And he was like, I'm not selling condos. He was like, to Mr. Smith, I sold a parking spot next to his favorite gym. And he wanted to be able to park, at 6 a.m. in the morning next to his favorite gym in a big city. To Mrs. Smith, I sold her convenient location to all the best shopping and restaurants in Chicago. Her husband works and she travels with him, and that's what I sold her. To somebody else, I sold them the gym membership inside the building. The gym membership comes with the condo. And so what he was saying is like, I sold something different to each individual. It wasn't a condo. I wasn't presenting them all with a condo. I was presenting them with what their needs were. Okay. So when you are explaining how Radian & Fields is going to, or when you're sharing your story, when you're sharing either your story or sort of the Radian & Fields opportunity, it is going to look different every single time. What I shared with McKenna was completely different than what I shared with Nikki. It's still my story and it's still what Radian & Fields can offer, but they're in different places of life. And so you're going to have to curtail that information to, hey, this can fit around your college schedule and you're, not having to clock into an hourly office. Hey, this can fit around your teaching schedule and carting 3 kids to gymnastics and soccer. So you're just going to, you have to learn enough about the person first so that you can curtail your information to them. And there's something I want to say here too that I feel like was sort of tricky in the beginning that no one ever really told me, is that this is your decision who you recruit to your team. And so this is your team. You need to keep in mind that this person is going to represent you and this person is going to represent your team. And it's okay to be choosy with that. I don't feel like anyone told me that in the beginning. And us as women in general tend to be a little bit of I don't even know what the right word is, but like a savior complex of just like kind of recruiting the needy. And that's definitely what I feel like I did a lot of when I first joined. And sometimes recruiting the needy are not the people that are going to work hard for you. And what you want to find is you want to find somebody that's like yourself. You want to find someone that is going to be super motivated and that you're not going to have to hold their hand every second of the day. And there's a bunch of acronyms on who to look for, but people you're looking for obviously are well-connected throughout the community. They're well-respected throughout the community. Think about in your courting process, when you send them a text, do they answer 3 days later? Okay, do you want to work with someone like that for the rest of our Rodan and Phil's years? Like, do you want someone that sometimes texts you back and sometimes doesn't? Or when they do, it's, 12 a.m. or whatever. So just think through the way that they're initially sort of responding and interacting with you is the way that they're probably going to treat their future team and their future customers. And so it's okay to be choosy. I mean, honestly, y'all have someone right now that is asking to be on my team, and we have had a couple phone conversations, and I'm not pursuing it. And I have been watching her on Facebook, and it's not an image that I want my team represented. And so it's okay for you to say no. It's okay for you to say, I don't think our team is a great fit for you, or whatever, however you want to handle that. But just know that it's up to you. This is your business. You can kind of do the hiring how you see fit. All right. Couple other things. I want to give y'all a little bit of, asking language when you're asking. Well, I'm going to give you a typical timeline of how I sort of prospect and recruit, and then just some asking language. But so for just a typical timeline, usually what I'll do, the best way to get your funnel full, we talk a lot of times about having a prospecting and a recruiting funnel, which is just means people that you're somewhere in the conversation with. And the absolute best way to get that funnel full is two ways. Either to be super consistent with your daily reach outs, meaning you are going to reach out to 2 people a day regardless of what your day holds. And that means that you're going to be hitting 10 to 12 people a week. And so your funnel should be constantly full with people answering messages, requesting more information, setting up coffee dates. That's one way you can do it. I tend to work more where I do massive reach outs about every 3 months. And so about every 2 to 3 months, I'll probably hit 100 reach outs within just a few days. And then that takes me the next 2 to 3 months to sort of get those responses, recruit who I'm going to recruit, bring them on, get them trained. And so just know that whichever way you choose to work, you want to keep your funnel full. And so even when you feel like you've hit a dead spot and you're training new people, you want to sort of be filling that funnel by continuing to reach out. And so the initial reach out, and then if you get a response, kind of are waiting a couple days to follow up. And then once you get a response, the first thing that I do is if they say, I always end, going back to our inviting language, I end with a question. Would you like to hear more about this? Or is this something you would be interested in? And then when you get a reply, this is just what has worked for me, so please do what works for you. But I typically ask if they would like me to email them some information first, especially if it's not someone I know well. If it's someone I know well and I know without a doubt that I want them on my team, then I'll go straight to, can I take you out to lunch? Or, can we please meet for coffee, or let's set up a phone date? Like, I want to get them on the phone and I want them to hear my voice and my passion and my excitement about this. If it's someone I don't know well and I'm still in that prospecting phase of teasing it out and stuff, send them an email and see what their reply is to the email. I can't remember if I posted I'll post it today, but what my initial email of information holds is some videos of the doctor and usually a redefined story that's very specific for them. And then when you get that response, it's then where I typically kind of step it up a notch with, like, if they respond back, okay, yeah, that looks good, I'd like more information, then you've got to get on the phone or you've got to get face to face. And in the beginning, like I said, you don't have to spill statistics and numbers and compensation. Just tell your story and how it's going to fit for them. But the other thing I want to say is people would say that in the beginning is like, tell your story or tell your success story. And when you're new, you don't feel like you have a success story. It's like, I just started and I have one person on my team, or I have 3 customers, and that's okay. But learn other people's stories. So my challenge to you is, if you feel like you don't have a story to tell yet, learn other stories of people around you, or follow people on Facebook, some of the RFX circles, and learn their stories and get comfortable telling their stories. And that's what I do a lot. Even if I tell my story, I'll tell stories of other women on our team that have really impressed me with what they've done with their earnings or how they're running their business or whatever. And just remember that when you're talking to someone, stories sell, okay? So the facts may tell, but the stories will sell. And so that's just one thing to always keep in the back of your mind, is like, you don't have to hit all the facts, just hit the stories. And that is kind of all the information I have for you guys. I'm going to look back and make sure I'm not missing anything major. One thing that I did in the beginning is, we made a dream team list. Hopefully you have a list of a dream team of people that you would just love to have on your team. And so I think our homework this week is going to be kind of surrounding people's pain points. getting to know people enough and identifying what their pain point is. And so my challenge would be to look at your dream team list, or whatever your current list is you're working off of prospects and stuff like that. And y'all can use first names or you can use initials or something, but let's share what we have found out of what their pain point is and how we think Ready to Build can alleviate it. And so what are we going to offer to that person, knowing what their pain point is. All right, before we hang up, I want to give anybody that has questions or anything a chance to unmute, ask questions, converse. Sorry, I feel like I flew through that information. I just love it. Yeah, go for it.
Hey, can we give a shout out to Megan, who signed up last night, less than 24 hours ago, and is on a call?
Hey, Megan.
Hi.
Way to be on your training already. I love it.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Okay, sorry. I just had to throw that out there. I was super excited to see her on here.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions? Well, feel free. When I post the replay, y'all can ask questions under that. And I will post the replay. Last week got nuts with me, but so this one's getting recorded, so I'll go ahead and repost it. And I did repost last week's as well. All right, I think that's all the information I have. If y'all think of other things, feel free to kind of converse about it, and I will see y'all next week. Good night.
Good night. Good night, girls.